So even in 2020, I find that the THOR still has a lot of things going for it, especially regarding FM synthesis, okay? Because I can grab my third oscillator, I can grab any kind of waveform, any kind of wavetable that I want, and then modulate my first two oscillators. Now this is actually a function that Europa, for example, is missing, okay? But one of the things that THOR nowadays is lacking in is the precision that a lot of envelope shapers give you in modern day synthesizers, like Europa does, like Serum does. And I've actually built a small combinator that gives us the best of both worlds. Good afternoon, morning, evening, or night. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dubious, and in this video we are going to modernize our THOR. So let me just give you a quick example of the envelope shaping that I was talking about and how that makes a huge difference. Okay, so here's a THOR, and then I've actually turned down my gain and my amp gain completely, and I've used my LFO to boost that up again. Okay, so there's a small sawtooth waveform here, and this is the sound that it gives. It's just a square wave. So now let's say I want a bit more attack to that envelope. I could try and find another wave shape for that, but see, using this one, my entire timing will be off. It just won't work properly. Okay, now let me compare that to our Europa enveloper. So same thing, square wave, turn down the gain on my amp, and then use the envelope here, and then boosted the amp up again. And I turned it on loop, so you kind of get an LFO. So a bit more attack to it. Maybe we want to let it ring out a little longer. And then maybe I want the release to duck down a little faster. And these are all things that you can't do in THOR by default. And that's why I've built a small combinator that does this, that allows for doing this. Okay, so let's start with building it real quick. First things first, grab a combinator. We will name that our THOR Modernizer, or name it whatever you want to name it. And then we will grab a Europa shape-shifting synthesizer and drop that in, and hold down shift before you release it, because you don't want it to automatically route into your combinator. Okay, you can turn off your engine if you'd want. And then let's make sure the first four envelopes, or envelope 1 to 4, are all identical, so that you have a same base wave shape and timing and everything to work with. Okay, so things you want to do is get the first preset for the same for envelope 2, get the first preset, same for envelope 3, first preset, and the same for envelope 4. All right, now let's go back into envelope 1, and we will turn on loop, turn on key trigger. That means that every time you hit a key, that the envelope will re-trigger, and then turn on beat sync and make sure the timing is the same on all. So the same for the second envelope, we'll do the same. Turn on loop, turn on key trigger, turn on beat sync. Same for 3, turn on loop, key trigger, and beat sync. And then the same for 4, turn on key trigger and beat sync. Now the thing we have to do is grab these envelopes and make them route through the CV outputs here. Okay, so how you do that, you go to source in your mod matrix, you go to source, grab the first envelope, envelope 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we will make the destination of these 4 go to CV output 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we will turn all these amounts up to 100. Oh, not that one, this one. And then for good measure, I always use the scale here, and I use the scale from my amp envelope. So then that way, whatever shape you have right here, whatever shape you have in your envelopes, you will always have a wee bit of attack and a wee bit of release. Now you won't actually hear it, but it just makes sure that things don't click, right? You don't hear a little click before when your sound comes in. And then remember to turn up the amounts of these all to 100 as well. Okay, now that's that. Next up, we will grab 4. In our utilities, we will grab 4 spider CV mergers and splitters. And we will name these 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're gonna route our CV outputs in here. Oh, it automatically routed, so let's make sure it doesn't get connected to anything. It's not connected to anything. And then we will route our CV outputs in here. So 1 goes to 1, 2 goes to 2, 3 goes to 3, and 4 goes into 4. And then for good measure, just to make sure we have more options to use our envelopes with, we will split them into B. So split A goes into split B. And that means you just have more capabilities, you have more routing capabilities, because if you make some, with some synth design, you will actually use all of these inputs, outputs, for sure, believe me. All right, so that's everything for our envelopes. And then next up will be our THOR. So we're gonna grab our THOR and load up underneath here and make sure it routes into the combinator. So the main audio output, mono left and right. So 1 and 2 goes into the combi input of our combinator. Now if you play this, it should make sound, right? So first thing you want to do is grab your amp envelope and turn the sustain all the way up. And then let's turn our mixers all the way down. So here in mixer, turn 1 and 2 down, and number 3 will go down as well. And we will turn off our filter for good measure, because if you don't want to filter it, I only turn it on when I want to use it, all right? So now if you play it, there won't be any sound. If I play the combinator, there won't be any sound. So we're gonna have to route our envelopes into the mix levels right here, okay? So first is routing our CVs into the THOR. So we're gonna grab number 1 will go into CV input 1, 2 will go into 2, 3 into 3, and 4 into 4. And then I'm gonna grab the sources here, and that will be CV input 1 to 4. So 2, 3, and 4. And then just as a quick example, I'm going to have my first oscillator, so that will be level 1 and 2, be edited by the first CV input. So that will be destination, mixer, oscillator 1 plus 2 level. And now here we've got the sound back again. And then we can actually shape it right here. So one last thing, you might want to grab your LFO rates here and be able to edit them with the rotary knob here. So I just use one rotary knob. You can use all 4 if you want to edit them all 4 separately, but I'm going to put them all on rotary 1. So you're going to grab your Europa, or the show programmer, and grab your Europa, get all the sources to rotary 1, and then make sure you have LFO, oh no, it's an envelope, because 0 are the envelopes, because you actually have LFO 0 as well, but we're using the envelopes. So that will be target, envelope, sync rate 1. Be sure to use sync rate, not just rate. 2, 3, and 4. And then turn the minimum and the maximum. Maybe the minimum will be 11. And the maximum will be 88, I believe. Yeah, there it is. Depending on your BPM, but I just like to make it, make the range, the minimum maximum range, a little smaller, because else your range will go from 8 bars to 1/64th, which is really quick, which is really slow to really quick, and it's not really what we want to use these for right now. So now if we turn it all the way down, or we turn this up, and that's all there's to it. So you can save this patch, and now you have a THOR THOR Europa enveloper. You can call it whatever you want. I'll call it that for now. And maybe I'll see you in the next video where I show you exactly how I use this to really build a sound up. Okay, so this is just the basic template that you can use. So all the CVs will be ready to build whatever sound you want, and make sure that you have your envelopes set up here. Okay, I hope it made sense. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments and I will gladly answer them. Give a thumbs up if it helped. Maybe subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And have a good one. Peace.